In 1913, the abolitionist, the liberator Harriet Tubman died. My grandmother's older sibling was 5 years old in 1913. The grandmother who imparted to me, the grandmother who helped me with my education, who laid a foundation for my Christian walk that was very tangible to my growth as a believer, she had a sibling who was 5 when Harriet Tubman died. The issue and the institution of slavery is not that far removed, at most 2 or 3 generations from those of us who are walking the earth today. And its implications, its impact are still being debated, are still being unpacked. And one such attempt has been this political hotbed issue of critical race theory. Critical race theory asserts that the institution of racism is present in every institution in the United States, at least most of the institutions in the United States, our economic institutions, our housing, the way that our prison systems are raised, and the way that our prison systems are run are connected back to this lucrative institution of slavery. Well, it's been an issue. We haven't really wanted to talk about it, but we're here to talk about it today. These are Pivotal Times with your host, Pivotal Sales. I want to start this section with a quote by General Robert E. Lee of the Confederate Army. He said, and I quote in an 1856 letter to his wife, "Slavery is a moral and a political evil in any country." So he did not deny that. He went on to say that to expatiate on its disadvantages, no one will argue about that. It's useless to do that. He said he thinks it's a greater evil, however, to the white man than to the black race. And while his feelings are strongly interested on behalf of the latter, his sympathies were more stronger for the former. He went on to say, "Blacks are immeasurably better off here than Africa, morally, socially, and physically. The painful discipline that they are undergoing is necessary for their instruction as a race, and I hope will prepare and lead them to better things." Now, how long their subjugation may be necessary is known and ordered by a wise and a merciful providence. Robert E. Lee, 1856. Now, with sentiments like this that say it was an evil that was necessary and that had a good result, they still have an undercurrent. They still have a stronghold on the way that we think in this country. I'm here to bring out 3 key points about critical race theory. Number 1, it's very difficult to define. When you look up the definition and you go through the research of it, you'll find all this muddying of the waters, largely because, like everything else in this nation, there is a split between right wing and left wing. We took something as simple as a piece of material around our mouths in 2020. These masks became a divide. Are you conservative or are you liberal if you wear this piece over your mouth? So we can take the simplest of things and throw them into that political machine so it continues to run. I'm pulling them back from the right and the left and just simply examining that critical race theory, if we took the name off of it, because it's a hotbed issue, if we removed the name, it is simply saying that the money that came in from slavery benefited our hospitals, it built our roads, it built our education system, and we have to acknowledge that it was a financial backbone to this nation, not just in the South, but also in the North. Now, when we do that, we'll be able to better uncover how is this nation run? How does it still run? Unless, admittedly, those in position of benefit from this system don't want to give up those privileges. Again, when I had those conversations in 2020, that really was the issue. Not that it wasn't true, but that it meant something had to be dismantled in order to look at it. So let's, number 1, clear up the issue that is simply saying that race and the institution of racism and the institution of slavery had a big part in how our country was run. Number 2, after we've clarified the issue, let us clarify the position and the definition historically. Let us not be like Thomas Jefferson, who actually owned 600 slaves but only freed 10 upon his deathbed. A number of reasons have been given. One that stated that he actually did not want to go into more debt, and he was in considerable debt, and that he didn't have the option to free him because of that debt. And number 2, he believed that it would lead to dissension between whites and slave owners who were white and former slaves, and he didn't want to be the cause of civil unrest. Whatever his reason was, the reality is that he saw the truth, acknowledged the truth, and then pulled away from the truth. Let's not leave that historical legacy on the stage of history for our children. Let's acknowledge the truth. Slavery occurred, and it still has implications. And if you can't see those implications, then let's go ahead and put people of African descent, African Americans, who can actually see the impact that it has on the disparities in our school systems and the prison systems. We take the lead and we can reveal to you how it's still running and how it's still being perpetrated in a way that's in grace and in truth. Number 3, leading to grace and truth. As believers, we have to take a position, right, that has wisdom and understanding and compassion in leading these discussions, especially as African American Christians, that can say, we have a problem. The truth of the fact is we treated people like they were property. Let's examine that. And then we have to be able to define and hold the helm, hold the reins that say, no, we're dealing with this issue, that how it concerns the African American legacy. We're not looking at necessarily LGBTQ rights right now, and LGBTQ agenda. We're not letting that overtake this, because we're looking at the history of slavery, where people who were marginalized and other groups within it, like the gay community, mistreated, for sure. However, this is not a discussion about homosexualities, and we need to unpick that so that as believers, we're not forced to agree with things that biblically don't agree with our doctrine. Okay, the oppression of any people, is against God's will, and we have to confront that. I'll be looking at that third point in part 2. What is our stance as Christians? What do we need to say as believers? How do we need to see and take on critical race theory? Do we need to rename it, reclaim it? What do we need to do? Well, thank you so much for your time. I want you to drop a line below. Let me know what you think about it. What should the Christian response be? How do we bring critical race theory to the front? We know that DeSantis has actually put the bill in place, and that there are a number of court cases in the courts right now that are going against it, that are challenging it. What should be our response? How is the judge on high looking at the verdicts that we come up with? Thank you so much for your time. As always, bow before God, stand before man. Thank you for watching.